My name is Cassidy, and I'm 34 years old. 3 weeks ago, my father called me at 2 in the morning, crying. The family business he gave to my sister, the business I built from nothing, was about to collapse. She had lost a $15 million client, and he wanted me to fix it. I listened to him beg for exactly 47 seconds. Then I hung up, and I turned off my phone. But before you find out exactly how cold this revenge really was, let me tell you where it all started. If you've ever been overlooked by your own family, if you've ever watched someone else take credit for your hard work, if you've ever been called back only when they needed something from you, this story is for you. Hit that like button because you're about to hear about the sweetest revenge I've ever seen. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel, because stories like this don't come around every day. Now I would like you to do me a favor. Grab a cup of coffee as we ride together into this story. I need you to understand something about my family before I tell you what I did. My father, Harold, built Monroe Logistics from the ground up. Started in 1987 with one delivery truck and a dream. By the time I was born in 1990, he had 12 trucks and a warehouse. By the time I graduated college in 2012, Monroe Logistics was handling freight for half the manufacturers in the Midwest. And my sister, Natalie, was born 3 years after me, the trophy child. The one with the perfect smile and the drama degree from a private college that cost more than my entire state school education. She was Daddy's little princess. I was Daddy's little worker. I learned to drive a forklift when I was 16. I spent my summers in the warehouse, sweating through my t-shirts, loading pallets while Natalie went to theater camp. I took business classes at night while working full-time at Monroe Logistics. I learned inventory management, client relations, and route optimization. I lived and breathed that company. By 2018, I was 28 years old and running the entire operations department. I had rebuilt our client database. I had negotiated contracts that saved us hundreds of thousands of dollars. I had personally brought in 3 major accounts, including Pinnacle Manufacturing, a $15 million contract that made us the primary logistics provider for their entire eastern region. Pinnacle was mine. I spent 6 months courting their VP of operations. I flew to their headquarters in Ohio 4 times. I created a custom proposal that solved problems they didn't even know they had. When they signed, my father shook my hand and said, "Good work, Cassidy. This is what Monroe is all about." I thought I had finally proven myself. I thought I had finally earned his respect, but I was wrong. In March of 2019, my father called a family meeting. Just him, me, and Natalie. We sat in his office, the one with the mahogany desk and the photos of every truck he'd ever owned. He looked tired. He was 68 years old, and the years of long hours were catching up to him. "I'm retiring," he said. His voice was steady, but his hands shook slightly as he held his coffee mug. "And I've made a decision about the business." My heart stopped. This was it. This was the moment I had been working toward for 16 years. The moment where all those late nights, all those missed parties, all those hours in the warehouse would finally mean something. "Natalie," he said, turning to my sister. She looked surprised, her perfectly manicured nails frozen on her phone screen. "I'm giving you Monroe Logistics." The room went silent. I heard the hum of the fluorescent lights. I heard the distant sound of a truck backing up in the warehouse. I heard my own heartbeat pounding in my ears. "What?" I said. My voice came out small and broken. "Your sister needs a career," my father said, not looking at me. "She's been struggling to find her place. This will give her purpose and something to build on." "Dad," I whispered. "I've been running this company for 6 years. I brought in Pinnacle. I rebuilt operations. And you'll stay on, of course," he interrupted. His tone was casual, dismissive. "Natalie will need your help. You can be her operations manager. You're good at that." Operations manager. The position I already held, reporting to my sister, who had never worked a single day at Monroe Logistics, who couldn't tell a bill of lading from a packing slip. I looked at Natalie. She was smiling, not a big smile. Just a small, satisfied curve of her lips. She knew exactly what was happening. She knew what this meant. "Why?" I asked. My throat felt tight. "Why her?" "Because she's family," my father said, finally meeting my eyes. "And family takes care of family." I wanted to scream. I wanted to flip that mahogany desk. I wanted to tell him that I was family too, that I had sacrificed everything for Monroe Logistics and I had earned this. But I didn't. I sat there, silent, as my father handed my sister a business she didn't build, didn't understand, and didn't deserve. I sat there as he explained the transition plan. as he talked about mentorship and growth opportunities, as he used words like fresh perspective and new energy. I sat there as my entire world crumbled. The next day, Natalie moved into the corner office. She brought in a decorator. She replaced my father's old furniture with modern glass and chrome. She hung inspirational posters on the walls. Dream big. Lead with passion. Success is a journey. I watched from my cubicle. The cubicle I had occupied for 6 years while dreaming of that corner office. While earning that corner office, Natalie called her first staff meeting on a Friday afternoon. She wore a designer suit and heels that cost more than my monthly rent. She stood at the head of the conference table, smiling like she had just won an award. "I know this transition is unexpected," she said, her voice bright and cheerful. "But I'm so excited to lead Monroe into the future. I have so many ideas and so many plans." She talked for 45 minutes. She used every business buzzword she had learned from podcasts and TED Talks. Synergy, disruption, innovation, paradigm shift. The warehouse managers stared at her with blank expressions. The drivers checked their phones. I sat in the back of the room, my jaw clenched so tight my teeth hurt. After the meeting, Natalie pulled me aside. "Cassidy, I'm going to need you to put together a report on our top clients, revenue, contracts, and growth potential. Can you have that by Monday?" "That information is in the system," I said. My voice was flat. "You have access." "I know," she said, her smile faltering slightly. "But you're so good at this stuff, and I'm still learning the software. Just help me out, okay?" I wanted to say no. I wanted to tell her to figure it out herself. But I thought about my father. I thought about the employees who depended on Monroe for their paychecks. I thought about the clients who trusted us. "Fine," I said. That was my first mistake, because helping Natalie wasn't a one-time thing. It became my entire job. She couldn't read a P&L statement. She didn't understand margin calculations. She scheduled client meetings and forgot to show up. She made promises we couldn't keep and signed contracts we couldn't fulfill. And every time something went wrong, she came to me. "Cassidy, fix this. Cassidy, handle that. Cassidy, I need you." I fixed everything. I handled everything. I became the invisible engine keeping Monroe Logistics running while Natalie took credit for every success and blamed me for every failure. 6 months in, I asked for a raise. I was doing 2 jobs, my own and hers. I was working 70-hour weeks. I deserved compensation. Natalie laughed. "Cassidy, you're already one of our highest-paid employees. We can't justify increasing your salary right now. Maybe next year." I made $67,000 a year. She made $240,000 plus bonuses, plus the company car, plus the expense account she used for designer lunches and spa days. I went home that night and sat in my apartment. It was small, cramped. 1 bedroom in a building with thin walls and a parking lot full of potholes. I could hear my neighbor's TV through the wall. I could smell someone's dinner cooking. I sat on my worn couch and stared at the ceiling. I had spent 16 years building someone else's dream, and I had nothing to show for it. That was the night I decided. I wasn't going to quit or make a scene. I was going to do something much worse. I was going to let Natalie fail. You need to understand something about logistics. It's not a glamorous industry. It's not about innovation or disruption or paradigm shifts. It's about relationships. It's about trust. It's about showing up every single day and doing the boring, unglamorous work of moving things from point A to point B without screwing up. Natalie didn't understand that. She thought Monroe Logistics was a platform for her personal brand. She started an Instagram account for the company. She posted photos of herself in the warehouse wearing a hard hat and heels, captioned with quotes about female leadership. She gave interviews to local business magazines about breaking glass ceilings. She was building an image, but she wasn't building relationships. I watched it happen slowly. Client calls she didn't return, emails she didn't read, problems she didn't solve because she didn't understand them. I watched our reputation erode, one small failure at a time, and I stopped fixing it. When a shipment was delayed and a client called angry, I didn't call them back immediately with solutions. I forwarded the email to Natalie and waited. When a driver quit because he wasn't getting his schedule right, I didn't intervene. I let Natalie handle it. When a contract was coming up for renewal and needed a personalized pitch, I didn't stay late crafting the proposal. I did the bare minimum. I became what Natalie thought I was, just an operations manager. Nothing more. It was harder than you'd think. For 16 years, I had trained myself to care, to fix, to anticipate problems before they happened. Letting things fall apart went against every instinct I had, but I did it because I knew something Natalie didn't. Pinnacle Manufacturing's contract was up for renewal in November, and Pinnacle didn't care about Instagram posts or inspirational quotes. They cared about results. I had built the Pinnacle relationship from scratch. I knew their VP of operations, Frank Holloway, personally. I had his cell phone number. I knew his wife's name and his kids' ages. I knew he was a Detroit Lions fan and hated fancy restaurants. I knew exactly what Pinnacle needed from a logistics provider because I had spent 6 months learning their business inside and out. Natalie had never met Frank Holloway. She didn't even know his name until I put it in a report. The first sign of trouble came in August. Frank's assistant called asking to schedule a meeting with whoever is handling the Pinnacle account now. Not with Natalie specifically. Whoever was handling it. I didn't tell Natalie. I just forwarded the email. She scheduled the meeting for 3 weeks out, way too long for a client that size. She didn't ask me for background information. She didn't prepare. The meeting was a disaster. I know because Frank called me afterward, not the office. Me directly. "Cassidy," he said. His voice was tired. "What the hell happened? Your sister showed up with a PowerPoint about company values and barely asked us a single question about our needs. She didn't even know we'd expanded into 2 new distribution centers. I don't handle client relations anymore," I said carefully. "That's Natalie's department now." "Well, she's handling it badly," Frank said. "We're reviewing our logistics contracts across the board. Monroe is on that list. If things don't improve, we're going to have to look elsewhere." My heart jumped. This was it. The moment I had been waiting for. "I understand," I said. "I'll let Natalie know." I did tell her. I sent her an email outlining everything Frank said. I marked it a high priority. She read it. I know she did because she replied with, "Thanks, we'll handle." She didn't handle it. She scheduled a follow-up call with Pinnacle and then missed it because she was at a networking brunch. She sent a generic email apologizing for the mix-up. Frank didn't respond. September came, then October. The Pinnacle contract renewal was 30 days out, then 20 days, then 10. I watched Natalie start to panic. She finally understood that Pinnacle wasn't just another client. Pinnacle was 35% of our revenue. Pinnacle was the difference between Monroe Logistics being a major regional player and being a small local company struggling to survive. She came to my desk on a Tuesday morning. Her perfect makeup couldn't hide the dark circles under her eyes. "Cassidy, I need your help. Pinnacle isn't returning my calls. Can you reach out to them? You have a relationship there, right?" I looked up from my computer. I had been waiting for this moment for 5 months. "I used to have a relationship there," I said, "but I don't handle client relations anymore, remember?" "I know, but this is important," she said. Her voice was rising. "This is a $15 million contract. We can't lose it." "Then you should probably call them again," I said. I kept my voice neutral and professional. She stared at me, really looked at me for the first time in months. "Are you serious right now?" "Completely," I said. "You're the CEO. This is your responsibility." She walked away. I heard her heels clicking on the concrete floor. I heard her office door slam. 2 days later, the email came. It was addressed to Natalie, CCing my father and me. It was from Frank Holloway's assistant. "Pinnacle Manufacturing has decided not to renew our logistics contract with Monroe Logistics. This decision is effective December 1st. We appreciate your service and wish you well." Short, professional, and final. I read it 3 times. My hands weren't shaking, my heart wasn't racing, I just felt calm. Natalie's scream echoed through the warehouse. "No, no, 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 this can't be happening." She called an emergency meeting, all department heads. My father came out of retirement, his face gray. He sat at the head of the table, looking 10 years older than he had 6 months ago. "How did this happen?" he asked. His voice cracked. Natalie looked at me. Everyone looked at me. "Cassidy was supposed to maintain the relationship," she said. Her voice was sharp and accusatory. "She dropped the ball." I smiled. I actually smiled. "I haven't handled client relations for Pinnacle in 18 months, I said. "You've been their primary contact since you took over. Every meeting, every call, and every email, that was you. But you—" "I did my job," I interrupted. My voice was ice. "I provided reports. I flagged concerns. I sent you detailed emails about their needs and expectations. You ignored them. You missed meetings. You didn't build the relationship. This isn't my failure, it's yours." The room went silent. My father looked at Natalie, then at me, then down at his hands. "We need to fix this," he said finally. "We need to get them back." Good luck, I said. I stood up. I grabbed my coffee mug. I'm going back to work. I walked out of that conference room with my head high. Behind me, I heard Natalie crying. I heard my father's voice, low and urgent, trying to comfort her. I heard panic, and I felt nothing but satisfaction. The call came 11 days later, 2:14 a.m. on a Wednesday. My phone buzzed on my nightstand, pulling me from sleep. I looked at the screen. Dad, I let it ring. Once, twice, 3 times, then I answered. Cassidy. His voice was broken and desperate. I need you to come to the house now, please. It's 2 a.m., I said. I know, but this can't wait, please. I drove to my parents' house in silence. The streets were empty. The night was cold. I remembered driving these same streets when I was 16, going to work at the warehouse before school. I remembered believing that hard work mattered and loyalty mattered. My father was waiting on the front porch. He looked small and fragile. He had aged a decade in the past year. Natalie is inside, he said. We need to talk. I followed him into the living room. Natalie was on the couch, wrapped in a blanket. Her eyes were red. Her perfect hair was a mess. She looked at me with something close to hatred. Tell her, my father said to Natalie. She took a shaky breath. Pinnacle wasn't the only one. 3 more clients didn't renew. We're losing almost half our revenue. We can't make payroll next month. We're done. I sat down slowly. I had known Pinnacle was critical. I hadn't realized the damage ran deeper. How did you let this happen? I asked. My voice was soft and calm. You let this happen, Natalie spat. You sabotaged me. I did my job, I said. You did yours poorly. Enough, my father said. He looked at me. His eyes were wet. Cassidy, I made a mistake. I was wrong. You should have been given Monroe, not Natalie. I see that now. I had dreamed of hearing those words for 18 months, but now, sitting in that living room at 2 a.m., they felt empty. Too late, I said. It's not too late, my father said. He leaned forward. You can fix this. You know these clients. You built those relationships. You can get them back. Why would I do that? I asked. Because it's the family business, he said. His voice broke. Because 47 people work at Monroe, they have families, mortgages, they need those jobs, because I'm asking you and because I'm sorry. I looked at Natalie. She was staring at the floor. You're sorry, I repeated. You give her everything. You tell me I'm just the help. You let her take credit for my work. You watch her run the business into the ground, and now you're sorry. Yes, my father whispered. I stood up. I'll think about it. I left them there. I drove home in the dark, and I did think about it. I thought about it all night. By the time the sun came up, I had a plan. It wasn't about saving Monroe Logistics. It was about taking everything that should have been mine in the first place. I called Frank Holloway at 9 a.m. Frank, it's Cassidy. Cassidy, he said. He sounded surprised. I was hoping you'd call. How are things? Honestly, terrible, I said. Monroe is imploding. Natalie drove it into the ground. I'm calling because I want to offer you something better. I'm listening. I'm starting my own logistics company, Harper Freight. Harper was my middle name. Small operation at first, specialized service, personal attention, everything Monroe used to be before Natalie destroyed it, and I want Pinnacle to be my first client. There was a long pause. You're serious? Completely, I said. I can start operations in 30 days. I've already secured a warehouse lease. I have 3 drivers ready to go. I have existing vendor relationships. I can handle your eastern region immediately and scale up from there. What's your pitch? Frank asked. My pitch is simple. You know me. You trust me. I built the system that serviced your account at Monroe. I can do it better without the dead weight. Give me 6 months. If I don't outperform every logistics provider you've ever worked with, you can walk away. No penalties, no hard feelings. Another pause, then. Send me a proposal, a real one. I'll take it to my team. I spent the next 72 hours building that proposal. I worked through the night. I didn't tell my father. I didn't tell Natalie. I pulled every detail from my years at Monroe, every route, every optimization, every cost-saving measure. I built a logistics company on paper that could outperform Monroe in every category. I sent the proposal on a Friday. Frank called me on Monday. You've got a deal. 6-month trial, $15 million annual contract if you hit your benchmarks. I closed my eyes. I felt the weight of 16 years lift off my shoulders. Thank you, Frank. You won't regret this. I know I won't, he said. Good luck, Cassidy. Go show them what you're made of. I hung up. And then I called my father. I've thought about your offer, I said, and his voice was hopeful. I'm not saving Monroe, I said. I'm starting my own company, and I'm taking Pinnacle with me. What? He said. You gave Natalie a business she didn't earn. Now you get to watch her lose it. Maybe she'll learn what it feels like to work for something. Cassidy, please. I spent 16 years building Monroe. You gave it away like it was nothing, like I was nothing. So now I'm taking what's mine, the clients, the reputation, the relationships, everything that mattered, and you get to keep everything that doesn't. I hung up before he could respond. Harper Freight launched on December 15th. Small warehouse. 5 trucks, 4 drivers. Me doing everything from dispatch to billing. It was exactly how my father started Monroe Logistics 35 years ago, except I wasn't doing it with hope and dreams. I was doing it with rage and precision. Pinnacle was my anchor client, but they weren't my only target. Remember those 3 other clients who didn't renew with Monroe? I called each of them personally. "This is Cassidy. I know you decided not to renew with Monroe. I'm calling to see if you'd consider working with my new company instead." 2 out of 3 said yes immediately. The third took a meeting and signed a week later. Within 30 days, I had captured $22 million in annual contracts. Not enough to run a massive operation like Monroe, but more than enough to build something sustainable. Something of mine. Word spread fast in the industry. The clients didn't just leave Monroe, they told other people why. Cassidy started her own company. She's the one who actually ran Monroe anyway. Natalie was just there for the nameplate. My phone rang constantly. Old vendors wanting to work with Harper Freight, former Monroe employees asking for jobs, competitors called to congratulate me. It was surreal. For 16 years, I had been invisible. Now, suddenly, everyone knew my name. The call from Natalie came 6 weeks after I launched Harper Freight. I was at the warehouse, running through route schedules with my drivers when my phone buzzed. I looked at the screen. Natalie, I almost didn't answer, but curiosity won. "What do you want?" I asked. Her voice was small, broken. "We're closing Monroe. The bank foreclosed on the warehouse. We couldn't make the loan payments. Dad lost everything." I felt nothing, no guilt, no satisfaction, just emptiness. "I'm sorry to hear that." "You're not sorry," she said, her voice turned bitter. "You did this, you destroyed us." "No," I said, "you destroyed it. You took something you didn't build, you didn't respect it, you didn't understand it. You thought the business would run itself because you had the title. You were wrong." "I was trying my best," she said. "Your best wasn't good enough," I said, "and that's not my fault, that's yours." She was crying now. "Dad had a heart attack last week. Did you know that? He's in the hospital." "He's asking for you." My chest tightened. "Is he okay?" "He will be, but he's broken, Cassidy. You broke him." "He broke himself," I said. My voice was steel. "He gave you a company instead of earning it. He taught you that family meant handouts instead of hard work. He did that, not me." "He's still our father," Natalie whispered. "Then go be with him," I said, "but don't call me again." I hung up. I stared at my phone for a long moment. Then I turned it off and went back to work. 3 months later, I got a letter. It was handwritten. My father's shaky script on plain white paper. "Dear Cassidy, I heard Harper Freight is doing well. I'm happy for you. I wish I had believed in you sooner. I wish I had seen what you were building instead of trying to force what Natalie wasn't. I don't expect you to forgive me. I just wanted you to know that I'm proud of you. You built something real, something that matters. That's more than I can say for myself. Love you, Dad." I read it twice. Then I folded it carefully and put it in my desk drawer. I didn't call him. I didn't write back. Maybe someday I will, but not today. Today I had a business to run, a business I built, a legacy that was mine. Harper Freight doubled in size by the end of year 1. I hired 12 more drivers. I leased 2 more warehouses. I signed contracts with 8 new clients. Industry publications wrote articles about me. The logistics CEO who started from scratch. How Cassidy built Harper Freight. They didn't know I didn't start from scratch. I started from betrayal, from being invisible, from watching someone else take credit for my life's work. And you know what? That made the success even sweeter. 6 months ago, I was at a logistics conference in Chicago. I was giving a keynote about scaling operations. The ballroom was packed. Hundreds of people wanted to hear me speak. Me, the girl who used to drive a forklift in a sweltering warehouse. After the speech, someone tapped my shoulder. I turned around. It was Natalie. She looked different, older and tired. Her designer clothes were gone. She wore a simple blazer and slacks. No jewelry, no perfect makeup. "Cassidy," she said, "can we talk?" I looked at her for a long moment. "We don't have anything to talk about." "Please," she said, her voice cracked. "Just 5 minutes." We walked to a quiet corner of the hotel lobby. She sat down heavily, like the weight of the world was on her shoulders. "I got a job," she said. "Operations coordinator at a small freight company in Indiana. $45,000 a year. I answer phones and file paperwork." "Good for you," I said. I wasn't being sarcastic. I meant it. "I wanted to tell you I understand now," she said. I understand what you did, all those years at Monroe, all that work, I never saw it. I thought it was easy. I thought I could just show up and everything would work. I was wrong. Yes, I said, you were. Do you hate me? She asked. I thought about that question. Did I hate her? Did I hate my father? For years, I thought I did. But sitting there, looking at my sister who had lost everything, I realized the truth. No, I said. I don't hate you, I just don't need you. She nodded slowly. I don't blame you. She stood up. I should go, I just wanted you to know I'm sorry for all of it. She walked away before I could respond. I watched her disappear into the crowd. I felt something shift in my chest, not forgiveness, but something close to peace. I didn't build Harper Freight for revenge. I built it because I finally understood my worth. I understood that loyalty to people who don't value you is just self-destruction in disguise. My father taught me a lesson he didn't intend to teach. He showed me that blood doesn't make you family. Respect does, trust does, and showing up does. And when those things are gone, when someone looks at your sacrifice and sees only a tool, you don't owe them anything, not your time, not your energy or your forgiveness. You owe yourself the life you deserve. Today, Harper Freight has 89 employees. We operate in 6 states. Our annual revenue is $47 million. I bought my own warehouse last year, 3 times the size of the one Monroe used to lease. And you know what's strange? I'm not angry anymore. I used to lie awake at night replaying every moment of betrayal. Every time my father chose Natalie. Every time she took credit for my work and every time I was invisible. But now I sleep just fine. Because I learned the most important lesson of my life. You don't need validation from people who can't see your value. You don't need permission to walk away from situations that drain you. You don't need to set yourself on fire to keep other people warm. My father lost his business. Natalie lost her inheritance. And me, I lost nothing I actually needed. I gained everything I deserved. Sometimes the greatest revenge isn't destruction, it's a success. It's building something so undeniable that everyone who doubted you had no choice but to see what they lost. I don't talk to my father much, maybe twice a year. Polite phone calls on holidays. He asks about the business. I give him surface-level updates. The warmth is gone, but so is the pain. Natalie and I haven't spoken since that conference. I don't know if we ever will, and that's okay. Because I've built a life where I don't need them, where I don't need anyone who sees me as less than I am, where my worth isn't determined by someone else's approval. That's freedom. That's power and that's justice. And that's the sweetest revenge of all. If this story hit home for you, if you've ever been overlooked, underestimated, or used by the people who were supposed to support you, leave a comment. Tell me your story because you're not alone. And don't forget to subscribe. Hit that notification bell. Because every day I bring you stories about people who refused to stay down. People who took their power back. People who proved that the best revenge is living well. Thank you for listening. And remember, you don't owe anyone your brilliance if they treat you like you're ordinary. See you in the next one.